I was headed to work.
Yeah.
Lost fourth, cruising. Dropped it to third, nothing. Dropped it to second. Hit, just take off. I was waiting for it.
So you drove 30 minutes in second gear to get to work. He said this was a 4L70. Wow.
God, that's black.
Man,
Thing
that looks
stinks.
okay. Man, this thing does. It really stinks. I'm gonna go ahead and warn the customer he needs to definitely make sure he's got an external cooler on this thing. That's for sure. Especially if he's gonna be towing with it. This thing has gotten really, really hot. What's up, guys, and welcome back to FSP Transmissions. My name's Tyler.
And I'm Cody.
And we're getting ready to assemble our 2008 4L60E. I'm going to include the forward input drum in the video, but I'm not going to show the reverse input drum. I'm not showing the full pump assembly today. It's just going to be too long of a video. So we're going to do kind of like a series that we talked about last night on the 4L60E, and I'll throw you some tips and tricks along the way to help you guys on your transmission journeys. Journeys? Journeys. Your transmission journeys. Alright guys, if I can get my speech impediment under control, we're going to continue this video. I've already got the low reverse piston down in the transmission, and I'm going to get another one to show you the tooth that's on the side of it that locks into the case. Okay, so here's the tooth that I'm talking about. Now this piston sits down in here like this, down in the transmission, and there's a little opening here for your parking lever, which I'll show you in a second, but that tooth locks at 9 o'clock inside of the case, over here on the left side. Now, zooming a little bit closer down inside of the transmission, I'm going to extend the parking lever out just to demonstrate how your parking lever works. And like I said before, this little opening here on that piston allows this to come over and lock into that parking gear. Next is your spring perch that sits on top of your low reverse piston, and you're going to have a low reverse spring tool compressor to push this down. There is a little channel down here on the neck in the bottom of the case, and a snap ring goes in the crevice. Okay, I have my low reverse spring tool compressor installed, and I'm walking this spring perch down. That neck is exposed. Slide your snap ring down inside, and you're going to need a thick screwdriver. If I can get it up. Yep, there we go. You don't need no skinny screwdriver, you need a thick daddy. Kind of walk that down in and pull down with your middle finger on the back. Once that, goes past the top of the neck there, you can push down on the opposite side.
With your thick daddy.
With your thick daddy. Snap ring should be fully installed. And I like to take my screwdriver and kind of put in a twist in between the snap ring and the spring purchase to make sure it's seated all the way. Okay, so we're going to move on here to our parking gear, which is here, and then our lower planetary. Here's a 5-pinion lower planetary that we're putting in this bad boy today. That's a nice jewel there. And we're going to move on to our center support up here into the case. Okay, now I've put some Vaseline here to seat this bearing onto the neck of this parking gear so it doesn't fall off when I set it down into the case. And we've already changed the case bushing out. That feels pretty smooth. And this does have a little neck on it here, and it sits down into the parking gear just like that. Next is your 5-pinion planetary, or 4-pinion planetary. After I install my planetary, I try to put a little bit of fluid down here in the bottom just to lubricate that on initial startup. If you put too much, it'll just go right in the floor. So, okay, after your planetary is lubricated properly, next is your wavy. This is a beveled steel disc that goes right below your low reverse clutch pack. After your wavy, you've got a steel disc, and then you can start stacking your frictions and alternating from friction to steel. It's a new Planetary, so those friction teeth are real tight. Beautiful. Okay, we're gonna measure from the ledge that the center support rides on down to the top friction. Got 72 thousandths that we need to cover. Now, when we come over here, we're shooting for about 20 to 40 thousandths. That's not that crucial, as crucial as some people think here in the lower reverse section. So we're going to measure this ledge to where the center support rides in the case. We're right at 35 thousandths. Oop, yep, right there. All right. So we're going to go with 35 thousandths, and we'll double check it there when we get it in the case, make sure everything spins freely. But yeah, 25 to 40, you know, it's not as crucial as some people think in these 4L60Es. Okay, next is your anti-clunk spring, and the flat end is to the left. And the crooked end that's got the little wave in it sits to the right. Now, your widest gap for your center support housing is on the right side at about 3 o'clock. And it only goes in there one way. You can see this opening over here is the widest. Point to it over here. Alright, next is your snap ring that holds your center support in place, and your opening needs to straddle your anti-clunk spring. See how that's sticking out? I'm going to take a hammer, or maybe I can get it right here. Bam, that's locked in all the way. It was above this, and that can pop off and cause you big issues. Better be careful. Next is this black washer and your sun gear. I gotta find it, hang on. Alright. Your straight splined edge faces back towards you. Next is your hardened sunshell. Now you can shove your output shaft up through the bottom. You can stabilize the bottom of this with your knee or your other hand, but you got to get in here and curl this thing on. Bam. Alright, here is your 3 and 4 molded piston, and that goes first. I've already got my forward piston inside of its housing, and this housing sits down into our 3 and 4 ply shell just like this. Now there's a little spring perch right down at the bottom there, and then you want to line these teeth. See how thick the teeth are on the flange there? You want to line that like that. You see the little teeth, big teeth? You know, you get it. Now there is a little O-ring that goes down here. I've already installed that. Let's go ahead and push our 3 and 4 clutch, or our 3 and 4 molded piston in for our 3 and 4 clutch pack. Now we want to get blue cone. You can't find these anymore. This is a T1528, and as far as I know, you can't find them. I've looked. I've looked. And you want to get this flat, and then you want to get all 4 corners covered and push down. Bam. Once it's below this ledge, it's seated all the way in, and then you can go in with your Overrun piston next.
It makes a little toot.
Yeah, it does make a little toot normally. Oh. And next is this spring perch, and we're going to go over here to our foot press this down, and get our snap ring on. Alright, now our snap ring's seated all the way in, and I always go back in with a screwdriver just to double check. I'm going to put our input shaft to output shaft seal in the splines there. And we're going to put a little bit of Vaseline and go ahead and put our bearing in. Now your Overrun steels here don't have the extra teeth, and there's only 2 of these in the kit, just like this right here. We got brand new steels going in and brand new Ray Bestos frictions. We didn't cheap out on this at all.
Pre-soaked.
Pre-soaked.
For all the haters out there.
For all you haters. So you can soak that up however you want. We don't really care. This forward sprag assembly is next. That like a stick. There it went. Alright, next is a thick steel that goes right above your Overrun frictions. Just like that. They got a wavy here, and this disc is beveled. And then you get your clutches, and here's your brand new steels. Brand new.
Better.
So you've got 3 steel discs first. A thick one, a wavy, and then your normal steel for your clutch pack. And then you put a friction and then alternate back to a steel and then alternate until you get to the top, and you're going to end with a friction. Now these clutch packs are normally pretty good about being right. They don't make any different discs. Now the early 700 R4s did have some thicker frictions, I believe, and I think it was only 4. They went to a 5 at a later date. They were like really thick frictions, to my understanding, and I've been a good amount of them. We're gonna put the top cap on, and we're gonna look right here, and we're gonna make sure that this is perfectly flush with the bottom chamfer here for that snap ring. We don't want it below that, and we don't really want it above that either, because then the clearance will be too tight. But you can eye this right here. And you can see it's flush right above, or it's flush right at this bottom landing. Alright, let's put our snap ring in and move on to our 3 and 4 clutch pack. And we'll air check this when we get everything squared away. Alright, here's our 3 to 4 clutch pack, and I've already predetermined this at 30 thousandths. You see right there, so the snap ring takes up a lot of that space, but usually after you pry it back up, there's 30 thousandths, and that's what we're left with this. So really, you don't want that tooth below that lip at all.
Because once you pry up on your snap ring,
once you pry up on your snap ring, and that's where a lot of people mess up right here. They don't pry it back up. And I always pry it up, and then it'll give you your correct reading, which you can read on a dial caliper, no problem, if you would like. But, you know, that's how you do that. All right. We're going to put our springs in here. Now, I only put these in my 4L60Es. I don't put them in my 700s or my early 4L60Es. But if it's got some horsepower to it, I try to put them in.
What do those do?
I haven't had any issues. So it like keeps the clutch pack together, and it puts pressure on this top plate up here to stay just pressed in where it's supposed to, because it can fall and drag on this this clutch right here, this top friction, and it can just generate heat. But when it's sitting to the side and you've got your clutch clearance right, and you've got your cooler right, and you're not overheating your transmission, normally it's not an issue. But a lot of people say that these cause problems, and I've never ever had an issue out of them. And again, you need to go up under here and pry this thing up.
Oh, there, yeah, that's got solid plate.
And that's 30 thousandths right there at the top. You can take your 30 thousandths feeler gauge and go right inside of there. Now you got your shim here, and then you've got your bearing, black side faces up, just like that. And we're going to put our Teflon resizer on. Now you want to walk your drums in nice and gentle. Don't want to just drop them in there. Should have, this input shaft should come up just a little bit. That's how you know you got it in there all the way. That feels good. Alright, this band goes in here just like this, the teeth that go to the bottom left. And you kind of got to just muscle it in there. Take a butt of a screwdriver and normally you can pop it in. Bam. And now the right side locks down into the case, and this little tooth goes into the case and locks the band into place. And the band will protrude past the valve body casing surface in. That's how you know it's in there all the way. And you can get a close shot of that, Cody, if you want. That's how a band is supposed to be installed. Now, this Corvette servo has got to go in there all at once. You can't take it apart and put it in there a part at a time. This is all got to go in there as one mechanism. I'm going to lube this up a little bit here. I like to put some grease in the back to kind of stabilize that spring too. Now we're going to lube this up here, and we're going to put our gasket in for our pump, case seal in for our pump, and it goes up here just like this. Alright, so it's about 12:30 at night, and we were recording the video earlier. I noticed that Whit had sent me the wrong pump body after I put it together. The pump body that I got was the O-ring style when I ordered the non-O-ring style, because this O-ring sits in the case, just like I showed there at the last frame. And I got it together, and good thing I've caught that, because that thing would have went in there and leaked like a sieve. And it'd have been... Ate my lunch. It would have ate my lunch. Oh yeah, let me show you what Cody's over here doing. He's up under a freaking rust bucket right now. You need to get your light under here too soon.
Yeah.
So you can see. Now you don't want to forget your pump washer here, the two teeth that sit down in like that. I put some Vaseline there to hold that in place. And now I try to aim this side here up with the two closest on the pattern. Now here I have my pump bolts laid out, and we're going to take the old O-rings off of these bolts and replace them with new seals here on the bottom, new O-rings, because these are notorious for leaking. If I can get down there on it. And we're going to do this on every single one of these. Alright, we're going to install our pump bolts now, and they need to be torqued down to 18 foot-pounds. Now, we're going to put our separator plate on. This is a 4607 from Transgo. These are the plates that I always go back with on these 4L60E units. Don't forget to put your screens in on the back. And you can drop this right into place. And get your other gasket. And align that next. And get your 2 bolts to go into the plate here just to keep it straight. Alright, you want to make sure that all your feed holes are visible. And that nothing's covering any holes at all. Everything open. Alright, these bolts here, here, and here are 8mm. They are special and they are called your Z bolts. And I like to always start those first, run them down nice and smooth. If you feel any kind of resistance, pull it back out, pull your plate off, and realign your plate. You don't want any of this being in a bind whatsoever. Now this is your manifold pressure switch, and I'm going to go ahead and set this down into place. And start one of these long, 1 or 2 of these long bolts here. Nice and smooth, all the way down with your finger. Now these should give you a nice firm clip.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning. We washed this bell housing because it was 2 a.m. and we still had to wash the pan in the bell housing. I was about to fall asleep last night down here. So we're going to wrap this 4L60E up now and load it in the truck and take it to our customer. He's up in Statesville, North Carolina. Yeah, it's going to be a good day. 2008 4L60E. It's fully assembled and ready to go.
Let's go.
You're going to start out with 8 quarts. Make sure we get it off the ground.
Go.
Once you get your 8 quarts in, you can fire the vehicle up apart. Just let it sit there for 5 minutes, and then you're going to want to check your fluid 4 or 5 times.
Yeah.
That's what I always tell everybody, it's 4 or 5 times. And then manually shift it 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 3, 2, 1. If you have any issues on the lift, get pins off. We'll go from there. You shouldn't have any issues. You've got the 2-year mile warranty. You can put 10 million miles to this thing, and I'll still cover it.
When I dropped it out, I seen that 30K right there
Yeah.
or whatever, and
Yeah.
I was telling my girlfriend, I was like, that don't seem right.
Yeah, no, and we didn't see anything in the transmission that indicated that it was rebuilt.
Yeah.
We didn't see, but all the clutches, from what I remember, we made a lot of videos this week.
Yeah.
But from what I can remember, all the clutches were stock OEM. And yeah, we were back to that 500,000 boost valve in there too, and the Corvette servo. So it's going to be a firm second.
Well, man, thank you so much.
It was great.
I appreciate it.
I appreciate that.
We'll see you next time. Thanks for tuning in.